A first listen and analysis of How Many More Times by Led Zeppelin. Here we are, the final track of Led Zeppelin 1. It's been a brilliant album so far where this band has showcased their ability to sort of pull from different influences and make it sound their own and make it sound like themselves. And they've done a brilliant job of it because they've been pulling from Eastern influences with certain guitar sounds and of course the blues, which they pull from constantly, whether it be lyrically or musically. So what I'll do is at the end of this track, I'll also add a little bit of a quick album review where I talk about my favorite tracks off this album. And after that, it's going to be moving on to Led Zeppelin 2 and the very first track of that album. Lastly, I should say, if you do enjoy these videos, hit me with a like, subscribe, share these videos. It turns out still about 80% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel. So if you do have a second, it does help me out tremendously. It helps the channel grow and get pushed into the magical YouTube algorithm, which we're all trying to get on. Other than that, let's get into the reaction. Okay, here we go with the reaction. I'm getting dazed and confused vibes. I think he's using that violin bow again.
How many more times treat me the way you wanna do? How many more times treat me the way you wanna do? Well, I give you all my love. Please, please be true. I give you all I've got to give. Rings, pearls, and all. I give you all I've got to give. Rings, pearls, and
Back to the blues, where they belong.
I got to get you together, baby. I'm sure you're gonna come. Wanna love some other man too?
Bonzo. Virtuoso. Crescendo. Wow. Okay, I'm going to stop it there really quick. I will never get over the fact that how cool it is that this band really took the chance and had the balls to make lengthy tracks which go where they need to go, you know, depending on what the mood is and the feeling of or the concept of what they're trying to get across. You know, a lot of music at that time was 2 to 3 minutes long because they needed radio stations to play this stuff. And I heard about this track and how they, at one point, they actually lied about how long the track was to make sure that radio stations didn't skip this song and played it. But regardless of their lies, I think it's always awesome to see. I mean, you think of No Quarter, When the Levee Breaks. All these tracks was long, took their time to build the atmosphere. And the same thing is here again. And that has to be sort of praised because I don't think many musicians at that time where they had no power, I mean, this is the very first album of theirs, would have taken a chance like that. So absolutely brilliant. And this track has all the signatures of the band. The connection between Bonzo and Page, brilliant. Fantastic lyricism. It's got fantastic vocals too by Plant. Great stuff, man. Let's keep this going. That has to be the bow, the violin bow. Listen to that. See how he makes it sound like someone crying, because this is a track about someone who is obviously have their heart broken by a girl, right? And what does he do? He uses the bow to create a sort of sound of someone almost weeping, you know? So cool.
Got me a girl and I kissed her and then and then. Whoops, so low, well, I did it again. Now I've got 10 children of my own. I got another child on the way that makes 11. But I'm in constant heaven.
It was a different time. We're going to let that slide a little bit.
I can't get through to her 'cause it doesn't for me. But I'm gonna give her everything I've got to give. Oh, Rosie, oh girl, oh Rosie, oh girl, steal away now, steal away, baby, steal away.
Oh, wow.
Little Robert Anthony wants to come and play. Why don't you come with me, baby? Steal
Okay, so many times people have told me that John Bonham, and I knew this sort of going into it as well, that John Bonham is one of the most sampled drummers from rock in hip hop. And I can totally see why. What a fantastic switch up to this new groove. And again, brilliantly executed because the idea of the track has changed, right? Now he's talking about a new potential girl. It's not about him weeping about the girl, the girl who broke his heart anymore. It's something new, a possibility of some romance blossoming, right? And what happens? They change the song, they change the music up. Very progressive, prog rock, I guess it's called, right?
come and play. Why don't you come with me, baby? Steal away. All right.
This could totally go on a hip hop track.
They call me the hunter. That's my name. Call me the hunter. That's how I got my fame. Ain't no king can hide.
Wow. Back to the start again. Isn't it interesting that they go back to the early music again? That cyclic nature, the cyclic nature of a terrible relationship playing out again with Plant or whoever this main character again. This girl who he's fallen in love with, this new girl, this school girl, whatever we would call her, is probably going to end up breaking his heart again, and he kind of knows it going in almost. And I guess the music also represents this. Really, really cool. I love when the music of the track can represent what is going on. Fantastic stuff. Paige does that often. That connection. Bonzo, Paige. Fantastic track. Fantastic. One of the highlights of the album, if you ask me. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. Lots to say about that. Really quick. I love the absolute fantastic switch up into what I would consider as like a very reminiscent of a very hip hop beat. Really cool stuff from Bonzo there, man. Again, he just has a way of shining through always, regardless of the track, regardless of if it's not set up for him. I know he has a track on the next album, Moby Dick, which is supposed to be his solo track. But he's got such a talent that it just always shines through with his fills and his intensity, with all that personality he has. I'm pretty sure Paige brought out the violin bow once again to do his crazy stuff that he did on Dazed and Confused. And let's talk about the rest of the album, tracks like Dazed and Confused. So this was another brilliant track. A little quick album review. I would still say the best track on the album is Good Times, Bad Times. It just, the way it started with this fantastic, fun, brilliant, blow your head off energy to start things off, to think that this was the very first time people heard of who Led Zeppelin was, and they came out the gates like that. Absolutely fantastic. Then I'd say the very second track is actually my second favorite track from the album, Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. It was this kind of haunting, chilling, different sound. It had somber parts to it, really cool guitar sounds to it. It was like almost acoustic joint at certain sections of it, if I can remember correctly. It drawed from sort of South America styles, like Latin styles of music. And then obviously Dazed and Confused was another really big highlight for me. So those I'd say was the three best tracks on the record. I'd say side one is probably the strongest part of it. And then side two, I'd say How Many More Times. This track is probably one of the best ones. Communication Breakdown was very interesting too. It was almost like a brother piece to Dazed and Confused. All in all, though, I could totally understand why this is thought of as being one of the greatest albums of all time. It's often included as one of the greatest rock albums or albums of all time, and it's by a lot of people considered maybe their second best album. I've seen it in a lot of like fan polls where Led Zeppelin 4 is kind of unanimously thought of as their best project that they put out. It was like the combination of all the things they had learned together into one. And they'd put this right next to it. I could totally see that. But I'm curious to see how the evolution of the band continues as I progress through the catalogue. Of course, I'm moving on to Led Zeppelin 2 next. So hopefully I'll catch you on that record. Subscribe, like, and share if you've enjoyed any of these videos. It really helps me out. Other than that, let's move on to Led Zeppelin 2.